Hey everyone, and especially Subaru owners. Today we're going to go over some bushing upgrades for the rear end of your Subaru. So if you're familiar with Subarus, you might know what these parts are. This is the T-brace, or the Outrigger cross member for your rear differential. And this is your rear differential mount. You see you got a bushing on each end. And this is where they use a lot of those cheap rubber bushings that have a lot of play in them. You can see how there's gaps in them and everything. And to be honest, like as a Subaru owner, working on a variety of different cars of many different generations, the rubber is just not good enough for sport driving, for track driving. We track our Subarus on the dirt and on the tarmac, and you can really feel that play in there. So I went ahead and did some research to get some good bushings put in these spots, especially for the Forester that I'm putting these parts in. And I came up with a company called PowerFlexUSA. When I went to PowerFlex.com, I picked up their PowerFlex Black Series bushings. Now they have a couple different versions. They have the black, they have the purple, and they have the yellow. Each one is a different durometer rating. So the black ones I chose because those are their race durometer. They've got the highest durometer at about 90 for their Black Series. And I want these to work and not be very compliant. I'm not that concerned with comfort. I really want good response and feel. So this is why I chose the black ones. This is my first unboxing of their product. They use these pretty cool, I guess, plastic boxes to box their bushings in, which is the first time I've seen it. Usually I'm used to like cardboard style boxes, the typical stuff that isn't very exciting, but this looks pretty nice. Here's the first piece. It's got some slots in it, a center hole for the metal sleeve, also with the PowerFlex part number stamped on it, and some PowerFlex PTFE silicone bush assembly grease. Next up, we should have the other side of the Outrigger bushings. So you'll need one box for the left and one box for the right. And here's our rear differential mount bushings that go in and mount to the subframe, with your instructions on how to mount these bushings as well. So these bushings come in halves, which make it a lot easier for DIY installation if you want to do it yourself without having to press in the bushings as like a one piece or a steel sleeved bushing. This makes it a lot easier for your home garage projects. What I also noticed is that inside these bushings, it's serrated. It's got this cross hatching, which probably helps hold these sleeves in. These sleeves are actually pretty nice. They look like they're well machined and very hefty, not just like a typical stamped and rolled sleeve. So you would grease the sleeve before pushing it into this bushing. And when you're installing it, whether you burn these bushings out, pry them out, or use a press and press these out, you'd get rid of these bushings first, then you'd go ahead and install one side of your bushing before inserting your sleeve and installing the other side of the bushing. Make sure you use plenty of this applied assembly grease to grease the sleeve and the bushing so that you can install it into your mount easily. These washers are the last thing you'll put on after you've installed all your bushings on the top and secured with the factory nut. So as you can see, not a fan of this kind of play in the rear mount, and it makes shifts kind of sloppy. So I'm pretty excited to put these bushings in. So these are the bushings you're going to need for your rear outrigger or your T-brace. This is part of the differential mounting system. You can see that this side is the left side, so it'll use these two bushings, which are symmetrical. They're about the same size to mount like a sandwich on the top and the bottom, with the steel sleeve in the center. Whether you burn these bushings out or press them out, it's up to you. For the right side, The bushing kit includes 2 bushings as well, but one of them is at different dimensions to account for this longer steel sleeve here. So the bushings are actually not identical on both sides of the Outrigger. So that's why you need to get 2 different bushing sets. Here are the part numbers that we're using. So this bushing upgrade for the rear end of the Subarus is applicable to all 02 to 07 Subarus with this chassis design. That means Imprezas, WRXs, STIs, and Foresters as well. We'll be doing this upgrade on my Forester XTi 5-speed. I'm upgrading to the one-piece Outrigger design from an Impreza STi, as well as using the differential mount from the STI and the rear subframe with solid bushings. I'm excited to try out PowerFlex's 2-piece bushings because I don't have a press to use the white line 1-piece bushings, and a lot of people that want to do this themselves in the garage and make some good improvements to their handling are able to do so now with this design. Alright, so that's how you get the bushing out. So today we're installing the rear diff mount bushings by PowerFlexUSA. We'll be pressing them into the differential mount for Subarus. This in particular is one from a 2004 STI. This style is going to be the same between Imprezas, WRXs, and STIs. The one pictured in the instructions is going to be the style similar to the one in your Forester. So the bushing size appears the same, so we'll be trying to press these into the bushings mount. We have 4 bushings, 2 halves for each side, and also 2 steel sleeves, 2 washers, which in my case, using the Impreza style differential mount, I probably will not use, but you will use these washers if you're installing it in a Forester with this kind of mount. So I sanded off some rust from the weld spots because this is an old piece, and just sprayed a light coat of pink on it just to protect it from rust in the future. So the PowerFlex bushings come with some PTFE silicone bush assembly grease. You can use this to help sleeve the bushings into the mount, and this will also be used to sleeve these steel sleeves between the bushings. I'm going to take a little bit of this and apply it to the inside edge of the mount bushing to help it come in a little bit. We're going to press fit this in the one side. You can go ahead and keep pressing down on it until it's flush. And then go ahead and do the same thing, greasing the edge of this bushing, complete the other end. And then you see that they're nice and flush. So if anybody does have any questions about this part number and why there's a different type of style mount pictured, it's confirmed that it does work with this style mount as well, between the Forester and the Impreza WRX and STI. A really cool touch that PowerFlex actually labels their bushings right on the edge right here, so if you ever need a replacement or you need to look this back up again, or you find a car that has it, you know exactly which bushings and what part number you're using. We're going to be putting these steel sleeves in the center. This is where your mounting bolt is going to go, so one for each end obviously. You're going to do the same thing, take some PTFE grease, apply it with the kit, and coat this sleeve. I'm going to try to center it as much as possible. Alright, we got it halfway in. You can always get a block of wood to help you get it sleeved to the other side between the 2 bushings if it's catching on the lip in the center, but careful with your fingers, make sure you don't pinch them when they finally sleeve through. And that's all. So left side and right side, you'll do the same. This is for taking these bushings out without a press. You want to take out the center metal sleeve first. I cut it out with a handsaw. You can cut it on both ends and pop it right out. This is so that you can actually bend the internal metal sleeve in for the bushing. And to do that, you can take a hacksaw, or if you have, you know, my hacksaw is disassembled right now, but just take the hacksaw blade and put it in these slots. You have 4 of them to choose from, where there isn't that much rubber, and you can actually get to the metal sleeve. Cut it through. Be careful not to cut the outside and the actual frame part, but cut it through in this area so it weakens it. And then you can go ahead and take a screwdriver and a hammer and hammer it through in these parts because it's the softest, and these will bend in the easiest. And I did the right side initially because it has a longer sleeve, but you can do that and it'll end up like this, where the screwdriver, if you're lucky, can pop through to the other side and push the whole bushing out just from the metal lip and the metal sleeve on this side. Today we're going to be installing PowerFlex's polyurethane bushings for the Subaru T-brace or Outrigger, basically the differential part of the subframe mount. So this is the part number, PFR 69-124 for these instructions, but you will need 2 different part numbers for both sides. Each set of bushings, one is for the left side, one is for the right side, this one being for the right side. The other one for the left comes with the bushing halves, the internal metal sleeve, and a pack of PowerFlex assembly grease. The most intensive part of it was taking out the bushing itself, and I did that also by hand. It did require a good amount of effort and work if you don't have a press. However, you can do it. We'll go ahead and assemble these. The right side bushings are actually 2 different thicknesses. One side, namely on the top, is thicker, and the bottom is the thinner or the standard size. If you look on the left side of the brace, the bushings are all the same size. Keep in mind, they're not interchangeable. There is a thicker bushing on the right side on the top. Well, let's go to our T-brace right here. So I've painted this a little bit. This is from a 2004 STi, as well as the differential mount that we did. So I just did a little bit of pink because that's what I had lying around and kind of fit the Subaru STi color scheme. We'll demonstrate today on the right side first. We're going to take some of your PowerFlex assembly grease. You're going to do one piece of the bushings first. If you look at the T-brace, just so you understand how it's oriented, this is going to be the front of the vehicle, upside down. This is how you're going to be looking up at the T-brace if you're doing this while the brace is inside of your vehicle. So you'll be lying on the ground or looking up at the vehicle if it's in the air. And this side will be the right side. We're going to take our PowerFlex grease and we're going to help these bushings press into the T-brace sleeve. We're going to go with the top first. The top bushing is going to be the thicker of the 2. And once you've got that aptly covered, again, this is the top, and this side is the top of the brace. I'll line it up with the and press it in. And it was easy to do perfectly by hand. Now you're going to do the same thing with your, in this case, bottom. Same thing again, grease with their assembly grease. Go ahead, put it on the top. Then you can press it in by hand. And then last but not least, the metal sleeve, which your bolt will go through for the mounting, you'll grease and slide in as well. If you need help, popping these bushings or sleeves in, you can always use a block of wood too and press. And there you have it. So we've got one side installed. It's the same procedure, straightforward on the other side. To make it easier to figure out which is the upper bushing and which is the lower bushing, the thicker upper one is PFR 69-124A, and it's going to be stamped on the inside for the bushing right here, so you can easily identify that. PFR 69-124B is going to be a thinner lower bush. So I've used a lot of other different bushing manufacturers, Prothane, White Line, Cartboy, just to name a few, And I can say that PowerFlex's bushings are pretty impressive in terms of the quality and the attention to detail that they put into the kits. I'm pretty pleased with the quality and build of the bushings. They seem very clean with not any defects in them. They fit together pretty tightly and very well, and they make it easy for do-it-yourselfers just like me. So I'm excited to put these parts in my Forester XTi. So it's basically a Forester XT with STI subframe conversions. And I'm very excited to figure out, just how much performance I'm going to get out of these. Again, these are the Black Series race bushings. I definitely do expect them to be noisier and ride harsher, but I also expect the shifting and clutch engagement to be a lot sharper and more direct, because we're taking a lot of the flex out of the driveline in terms of the rear subframe. If you want to see some of the installation videos and the upcoming performance reviews for these products and other products, subscribe, comment on this video or any of our other videos on what you'd like to see and what you think, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Go.
Like, have a bloopers reel.
Again.
Like, have it black for like 10 seconds, and then if people are still watching, run the reel.
Go.
Oh, you were going?
Yep.
You want to see my face?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to still look at the product.
Okay.
Nobody cares about my face, come on. I'm excited to try this product out because not a lot of product offerings. Again, cut.
Okay, go.
One pretty cool thing we noticed about the bushing design is that do you see me?
Yes, I do.
I thought you were just gonna focus on here. You don't need to see my face, I'll just be a voice. Do I need to wear pants?
No.